why do I monitor activity? Why are kids attracted to the internet? Then when do I monitor it? When do I prevent it? And then finally, what do I do? These are kind of the things that I think all of you probably want to know. What do I do? When should I? When should I not? What are the rules? What are the laws? The first thing your kids are going to jump up, or you might have even heard it, they're going to say, but I have my rights. Wrong. I tell the story all the time. The bad guy, I put him in jail, and he says, I have the right to make a phone call. And I say, I'm sorry, I missed that right in the United States Constitution. I don't think phones were invented when they wrote that document. You don't have the right. Everybody has the right to remain silent. Very few people have the ability. That's the difference. So it's those kind of things, the W's of the parental controls. But the need to control. Why do we need to control these things? The internet. Why do we need to control phones and iPods and iPads and all of the eyes that are out there? Number one, we want to protect the mind, the body, and the soul of our kids. That's the ultimate goal. We want to stay involved in their lives. We want to know what they're doing. Because life has changed dramatically from when I was growing up. I'll be 41 years old in November, and life has changed from when I was a kid. I went to college and played basketball, and I was honestly too short, so my career ended very quickly. But it's different now than it was then. And so we want to limit the possibility. Cybercrimes, as I'm going to show you in just a minute, is a huge, 2011, $32 billion worth of loss just in cybercrimes alone. And so we want to also prevent cyberbullying. We talked about the hate sites. Somebody said, I didn't even know they were out there. They're out there. There are hate sites that are people go to just for kids. Okay, then there's all kinds of other hate sites. You have every hate group in the world has their own site, and they make offshoots of that. And so there's a ton of that kind of stuff. Cyberbullying. You know, we talk bullying in school. We've heard about that. There was a big push, last year, I think, about the bullying in schools. But it's still going on the internet, basically unabated. It happens every single day, and we don't get to stop it. Sexual predators. And several years ago, when the internet was just getting the big boom, we talked about chat rooms. Chat rooms were all the rage, where the sexual predators were going and finding the kids. That chat room is now called Facebook and Instagram and MySpace and on and on and on and on. And the kids are leaving Facebook, like Josh alluded to. They're leaving Facebook and they're going to Instagram and they're going to Vine and they're going to that Kick. They're going to Tumblr. That's a new one. If you see your kids with a Tumblr account, I would cancel it immediately. About 80% of that is pornographic. There's people sharing pictures of themselves. Tumblr is horrible. But they're all getting popular. Why did Facebook get popular? Because people were running away from MySpace. That's what happened. And so the progression, now we're into Instagram, Snapchat, all of these other ones. So we have to stay on top of it. So what do we do? Well, number one, let me go kind of finish the controls. 64% of teens say they do things online they wouldn't want their parents to know about. We don't know what that is necessarily, but we have a really good idea, right? 30% of all data transferred across the internet is pornography. Think about that. 30% of all data that's transferred across the internet is pornography. 21% of Christian teenage girls admit to taking nude photos of themselves and sending them to somebody else. And that was a 2013 study done by the Christian Broadcasting Network. So it's not some law enforcement kind of guess. That was a survey that they did. Why do we need to control? Social media is forever. It doesn't go away. And I kind of learned that the hard way. I coach a 13-year-old now select baseball team. We travel all over North Texas, and we've been to several other states playing baseball. And I for whatever reason, did a search of my name, and guess what comes up? All of the websites, my phone number, things about me that I thought, oh no, I don't want people to know that. But it's out there forever. You can't take it back. You can't close it up in a bag and play like it never happened because it's there. So we talked about cybercrimes just a minute ago. When I talk about the cost, we're talking about the loss to victims and businesses and loss to repairs. In 2009, there was $350 36,000 reports of some type of cybercrime. That includes the identity theft, as long as it happened online, computer, internet fraud of some kind with credit cards or debit card abuse. But that represented $19 billion. 2010, we're up to 21. Now 2011, $32 billion. That's substantial in cyber crimes. And we all can be victims of that. We've all heard about the banks that get hacked or the websites, you know, they get broke into and data gets stolen. And so how many times, honestly, have you given your kid your credit card and said, go put money on your lunch account? How secure is that website? You know, so that's where those losses come from, honestly. And so cybercrime, and it's easy. These people that, you know, I mean, it's really, really easy to do on the basic level. Now, getting into the, you know, the higher dollar companies, Bank of America, and, you know, those kind of things, it's a little more difficult. But the average, really, website, it's pretty easy to break into most of those with a little bit of knowledge, obviously. Do I have the right to look? That's the biggest question that people ask me. Do I have the right to look? And I kind of did a little editorial here, and I'll read it to you. It says, let me be clear. I believe the whole game changes if you discovered something incriminating or if you have a real suspicion about your child's risky activities. When faced with this situation, many parents will ask, do they have the right to look? And to be honest, I don't like talking about rights. The word is just too overused in our culture, at least in my opinion. I believe that whoever's name is on the mortgage has the right to look anywhere in their house. In my opinion, that's you because you own the house. Even more importantly, you have the responsibility to protect your kids from themselves, even if they don't want to be protected. And so ultimately, that the right to look, again, I don't like the word. I have to deal with rights. Yes, there are certain criminals, they have certain rights that are afforded to them. My children have no rights if I don't give it to them. Now, the other part of that is I can give them rights or give them privileges based on their behaviors. If they have, you know, it's kind of a reward type system. But I don't like the words rights. If I feel like I need to dig, to look, to uncover, to find, then I'm going to do that. Experts have compared cell phone dependency to gambling. Every text, email, and update is like a hit. Well, a hit by, I mean a high, another injection of whatever it is. And hopefully you're just dealing with a compulsive habit that can be managing by your kind of structuring your kids. But think about it. How many times they're like this, okay? Or they're sitting in their room texting their brothers. I got 6 kids, right? So you wouldn't believe how many times one kid is in another room and they're texting. But that sometimes it can become a compulsive behavior. And you see it in the, what was it on MySpace? What was the farm thing where you had to raise your own farm? How many raised farms on Facebook or whatever that was? Now it's Candy Crush. Anybody ever heard that word? There's games, there's fads, there's things. And for us, for adults, we play it for a while, we get bored with it, but these kinds of things are just a draw to kids. Kids love that kind of stuff. And it can be a type of an addiction. Now, cell phone dependency, that addiction can become from the email or the text messages, but it also can be the pornographic material that is just, it streams to the phone. You get a Wi-Fi connection, right to their phone. And really, there's no way to stop it unless you turn off the internet to the phone, which you can do. I figured out how to do that. So you can, on Apple, you can totally remove the internet icon, gone, under Safari. And there's some things you can do in Android as well, which we'll get to. But the answer is, do I have a right to look? Yes. You have a right to protect your family. You have a right to protect your kids. And there's no law on the books in the state of Texas that would prevent you from protecting your family. You know, some people might argue that you don't need to go in your kid's room and dig and look. I say go dig and look. If I tell them to leave the door open and I find the door shut, the next day there is no door. That's just how life works. When I got that many kids, I don't have that much time to be dealing with it, so the door goes. And it's just the way life is around my house. But totally legal. If you want to remove doors, take them off. And we'll talk about some other things that you can do. Now, I alluded to this earlier. Privacy, in my opinion, is a privilege. It is not a right. I looked in the Ten Commandments. It doesn't say you shall give your kids privacy. Doesn't say it. I looked. So you can do what you feel is necessary to protect them. The kind of the acronym that I came up with and have been using and kind of teaching is the communicate, the attention, research, and educate, and care. And by those steps, if you can remember that, those simple little procedures will allow you and give you some tools to be able to defend against most of these kind of attacks. Now, when I say communicate, what am I talking about? Well, here's some strategies. Now, we kind of talked about it. Carve out a space for a public computer. I don't know that, is there any reason to put a computer in a kid's room? I don't think so, personally. So take it out. It's just like the door. Laptops, computers, whatever. Put it in a public place. We have one downstairs in a big the desk. It's beautiful. Printer's right there, all the paper supplies. What do you need? I'll get it for you. But that's where we're going to do it. The other part of that, for me, at least at my house, that computer is password protected. Nobody knows the password but me. You want to do your homework, you ask me, I'll turn it on for you. If I'm not there, I'll find another adult or one of the older kids who are, I don't know they're any more trustworthy, but they are certainly, we have an 18 and a 21-year-old that are there at the house that are very, very reasonable, and they've got their heads on straight. So they have the password. But for the younger kids, no way in the world they're getting that password. Number two, I say get tech savvy. That's as hard as that is, and as daunting of a task as that sounds, it takes 5 minutes on the internet. You spend more time on Facebook than it would take you to uncover a few things to help you, honestly. I did it. And because I went to a lot of schools and we talked about how to ping an IP address, okay? Which you don't need to do. You just need to keep your kids off the internet, which is pretty easy. The switch, turn the switch off. Turn it on when they need access, you turn the switch off. I have and again, I'm not advocating anything. We have Wi-Fi at my house. I have an iPhone in my back pocket. In 30 seconds, I can have the entire internet turned off at my house from Grace Prep. And it's a Cisco system router. You get the app, and not only can I turn the internet completely off at my house, I can also limit who's on it, because I can see that Tyler's iPhone is connected to the internet. Well, I can go block specific websites, or I can just block his phone completely from the internet. Now, that doesn't remove for cell phones, the possibility of the iPhone connecting via cellular data. We'll talk about that in a minute. But for the internet, laptops, iPads who don't have 3G, iPods who don't have 3G, there's those types of wireless routers, and there's a number of them. It's a Link Sys by Cisco. That's the one I have. I particularly like it. A little expensive, like $200, but well worth it. Especially if you're going to build some infrastructure and technology at your house. It's really easy to set up, put the disk in, don't touch nothing. In a few minutes it says done. And I like that kind of stuff. Plug in some buttons and you're good. I mean, it's color coded. I figured it out.